Somewhere in America right now, a guy is clipping a $12 tactical gadget onto his belt and convincing himself he's ready for anything. But he isn't. Here's the part nobody selling this stuff wants to say out loud. A lot of what gets marketed as survival and self-defense falls into one of two buckets. Either it breaks when you actually need it, or it can get you into serious legal trouble. The wild thing is, most of the people buying these aren't reckless. They're trying to be prepared. And that's exactly why this stuff sells. It's aimed at good instincts with bad products. So today we're going through 12 survival weapons that either don't work, can get you arrested, or both. And trust me, the last couple get a whole lot worse than you think. One of them might already be sitting in your wallet. Let's start with the credit card knife. You've seen these. Flat little card, same size as a debit card, slides right into your wallet, and it folds out into a tiny knife in a couple seconds. The pitch is genius, always on you, nobody knows it's there, ready in an instant. And on paper, sure, that sounds clever. In the real world, it's one of the flimsiest things you can carry. The whole body is thin stamped steel wrapped in a plastic housing that snaps together with little tabs. There's no real handle. You're gripping a folded piece of plastic, so you've got almost no leverage and no control. Try to actually cut anything tougher than tape or cardboard, and the thing flexes, the plastic bites into your hand, and the locking mechanism on the cheap ones has a nasty habit of not staying locked. That's how people end up slicing their own fingers with the exact tool they bought to feel safer. And then there's the part the ads skip entirely. It's a knife disguised as something that isn't a knife. Airport security will confiscate it the instant it hits the scanner, no exceptions. And a bunch of states have specific language about concealed and disguised blades. So depending on where you live, walking around with a knife pretending to be a credit card is a legal gray zone you do not want to explain to a cop. If you want a wallet-friendly blade, an actual keychain knife from a real company costs about the same and won't fall apart. This thing is a novelty that gives you the feeling of being prepared and none of the substance. That's the whole theme of this list, and we're just getting warmed up. Now we're moving from silly into dangerously overconfident. The mini pistol crossbow, the little self-cocking one, usually sold with a 50-pound draw and a handful of aluminum or plastic bolts, gets marketed hard as a survival and self-defense tool. Quiet, reusable ammo, no gunpowder. Sounds perfect for the prepper who doesn't want a firearm. Let's talk actual numbers, because this is where it falls apart. Those little bolts weigh around 12.5 grains, and one of these crossbows puts out somewhere around 12 to 13 foot-pounds of energy. To put that in perspective, that's in the neighborhood of a decent air rifle. It'll punch a bolt an inch or so into a tree. It will handle a squirrel or a rabbit at close range in a backyard, and honestly, for cheap target plinking, it's kinda fun. But as a defensive survival weapon, reviewers who've actually tested these, including people who own and shoot them, will straight up tell you not to trust your life to one. One person testing it put it perfectly. It gives you fake protection. It makes you feel safer while doing basically nothing to make you safer. Here's why. It's single shot. After you fire, you're manually recocking a stiff mechanism and reloading a bolt. That's several seconds where you're holding an empty plastic frame. The trigger's usually gritty, the sights wander if you bump them, and the energy just isn't there to reliably stop a threat. Documented injuries from these things tend to be less serious than a high-powered pellet gun. Speaking of numbers that lie to you, wait till you see the one on this next thing. The 3 million volt lipstick stun gun is perhaps the clearest example of marketing fiction on this list. A tiny lipstick-sized shock device plastered with outrageous voltage claims that convince buyers bigger numbers automatically mean more stopping power. That number is fiction, and I mean that in the literal physics sense. The stun gun industry has no official design standard and basically no regulation, which means manufacturers can print whatever they want on the box. So they do. But here's the reality. A small handheld device physically cannot generate voltage anywhere near the millions. The spark on these things arcs across a gap of maybe a centimeter, and the actual voltage needed to do that tops out in the low tens of thousands. Independent lab testing, hundreds of tests across dozens of models, found the real output nowhere near the claims and flat out described the manufacturer's performance numbers as unrealistic and unproven. And even if the voltage were real, it's measuring the wrong thing. Voltage just lets the spark jump the gap and get through clothing. What actually disrupts a body is the current, the amperage, and the charge it delivers over time. A quality stun gun only needs somewhere around 20 to 50,000 volts to punch through a jacket. So when you buy the 3 million volt lipstick for peace of mind, you're paying for a number that can't exist, on a device whose real strength is unknown, from an industry that isn't required to tell you the truth. You'd genuinely be better served by a reputable brand advertising a lower honest number. Now let's get into the stuff that doesn't just fail you, it can get you charged. The Tactical Self-Defense Whip is the extendable steel rod that snaps out to several feet and is marketed as a compact defensive tool for your bag or car, despite offering far less practicality than the ads suggest. It looks intimidating in a demo video. Someone snaps it out. It makes that mean little whipping sound and you think, yeah, I could keep somebody off me with that. You couldn't, not without a serious amount of training you're never going to get. A whip is one of the hardest weapon types on Earth to use with any control. It's not a baton. It doesn't hold a rigid line. It flexes and rebounds, and to land a meaningful targeted strike with one takes real skill and, critically, room. In a tight, panicked, close-range situation, which is exactly when you'd need it, you've got neither the space nor the practice muscle memory to do anything but flail. A trained person can do damage with a flexible weapon. An untrained person waving one is just telegraphing panic and giving an attacker something to grab. And it shares the exact flaw as the pistol crossbow and the stun gun. It sells confidence you didn't earn. It makes you feel armed, so you stand your ground in a moment where the smart move was distance. If you genuinely want a compact, legal, effective defense tool, pepper spray does more, requires zero training, and won't get tangled up in the "is this a restricted striking weapon" conversation that flexible and impact weapons run into in a lot of jurisdictions. The whip is a movie prop that costs you real money and buys you nothing. Now we've reached the blowgun, a simple tube that launches darts with a puff of air and is marketed as the ultimate silent survival hunting tool straight out of a jungle documentary. Two problems, and the second one's a doozy. First, for actual survival, it's borderline useless in untrained hands. Effective blowgun hunting takes serious practice, serious lung control, and it tops out at very small game at close range. As a defensive weapon, it's a non-starter. You are not stopping a threat with a dart. But here's the part that'll bite you. In several states, a blowgun isn't just frowned on, it's an illegal weapon to possess. In California, Massachusetts, and New York, owning a blowgun can be a crime in itself, meaning that hunting tool collecting dust in your closet may be illegal whether you've ever used it or not. So picture it. You order a survival blowgun off the internet because it looked like a cool, quiet backwoods tool. It arrives, you toss it in the garage, you forget about it. And in the wrong state, you now own a criminal offense. For a tube. That's the pattern for the rest of this list. And it only gets worse from here. Some of these you probably assume are totally legal. A few of them will surprise you. The belt buckle knife turns one of the most ordinary things you wear every day into a hidden blade, which is exactly why so many people think it's a brilliant idea. And that concealed in plain sight part is the entire problem. Let's start with the practical side, because even setting the law aside, it's a bad tool. The blade is short and the handle is a belt buckle. Awkward to grip, awkward to deploy, and made cheaply enough that it's not a knife you'd ever choose for real work. It exists to be sneaky, not to be good. But the law is where this one really gets you. A belt buckle knife is specifically named as a prohibited weapon in California. It's right there on the list alongside cane swords and other disguised blades. Possessing one can be charged as a misdemeanor or a felony depending on the circumstances. And that's the recurring theme with disguised weapons. The disguise is what turns an ordinary legal knife into an illegal one. A plain folding knife in your pocket? Fine in most places. That exact same blade hidden inside a belt buckle so nobody knows it's there? Now it's a concealed, disguised weapon, and prosecutors treat those very differently. You're not buying a knife. You're buying the specific feature, concealment, that lawmakers wrote statutes to ban. You're paying extra for the part that's illegal. And if you think a hidden buckle blade is a legal minefield, wait till you see what people throw at their own wall for fun. Shuriken taps straight into every martial arts fantasy, convincing buyers they're adding a silent precision weapon to their kit when they're really buying a movie prop with a surprisingly complicated legal status. Here's reality check number 1. Throwing a shuriken accurately and with enough force to actually hurt something takes years of dedicated practice. This is a genuine martial art. Buying a pack of steel stars does not make you capable with them any more than buying a violin makes you a violinist. In a survival context, they do nothing. You can't hunt with them, you can't defend yourself with them, and you'll spend more time digging them out of a fence than hitting anything. And reality check number 2 is the big one. In California, shuriken are outright banned. The penal code prohibits making, importing, selling, or even possessing one. And it's a wobbler, right? Meaning depending on the case, prosecutors can charge it as a full felony. The state even spells out the definition: a multi-pointed metal throwing weapon, no handle. Massachusetts bans them, New York bans them, several other states restrict them, and TSA will grab them out of your bag instantly. So the cool survival throwing stars you ordered? In a decent chunk of the country, having a single one in your home is a criminal offense that can be bumped up to a felony. For a wall decoration you can't actually use. The next one has been a legal trap for centuries and people still fall for it because it looks classy. Now let's talk about the cane sword. A walking stick with a full-length blade hidden inside that sells itself on old-world charm, secrecy, and the promise of discreet protection. It's neither sophisticated nor smart to own in a lot of the country. On the practical side, the blade inside a cane is thin and often cheaply made because it has to fit inside a stick. It's not a real fighting sword. It's a novelty blade in a tube, and drawing it under stress is slow and clumsy compared to just about anything else. As an actual defensive weapon, it's near the bottom of the pile. But legally, the sword cane is a classic. It's specifically listed as a prohibited weapon in California, named directly in the statutes right there with the belt buckle knife. Plenty of other states restrict or ban concealed and disguised blades that a sword cane falls squarely into. Same principle we keep hitting. It's not the blade that's illegal, it's the hiding of the blade. A walking stick is legal. A sword is often legal. Weld them together so the sword is secret, and now you've built the exact thing the law was written to stop. You're buying a weapon whose biggest selling point is its concealed design. Yet that's often the very thing that makes it illegal to carry. And despite all that risk, it isn't even particularly effective. 2 left. Both of these can send you to federal prison, not just county jail. Pay attention. At number 11 is the pen gun, a firearm disguised as an ordinary ink pen, a deceptive gimmick that convinces buyers they're getting the ultimate concealed backup when they're really stepping into a legal and practical minefield. Here's what almost nobody buying one understands. A real functional pen gun is not an ordinary firearm in the eyes of federal law. It's classified as an any other weapon, an AOW, under the National Firearms Act. That's the same body of law that governs suppressors and short-barreled rifles. Legally owning one means navigating the full federal NFA process, including ATF registration, an extended background check, and approval before transfer. The same paperwork gauntlet required for a legally registered suppressor. Now think about how these things actually get sold. Novelty sites, sketchy overseas listings, spy gadget shops. None of that goes through NFA registration. So the guy who buys a functional pen gun off some random corner of the internet, unregistered, is not buying a fun little survival gizmo. He's committing a federal felony the moment it lands in his hands. Possession of an unregistered NFA weapon can put you in federal prison and cost you your gun rights for life. This isn't a simple state law issue, it's the ATF, and the final item on this list is so heavily restricted that, unlike the others, you can't legally register your way around the ban. We finish with the single most illegal thing on this list, and it's not close: the ballistic knife. It looks like a normal fixed blade knife, but there's a spring mechanism inside the handle. Press the release, and the entire blade launches off the handle and flies through the air like a bolt, a knife that turns into a projectile. It gets sold in survival and tactical corners as the ultimate do-everything blade. Here is the flat truth. Under federal law, 15 U.S. Code, Section 1245, it is illegal to possess, manufacture, sell, or import a ballistic knife anywhere in the United States. Not restricted, not register it, banned. Congress passed the Ballistic Knife Prohibition Act back in 1986 specifically to wipe these out, and the penalty runs up to 10 years in federal prison. And unlike the pen gun, there's no NFA registration path to make it legal. There's no permit, there's no "but" in my state. A ballistic knife is contraband in all 50 states. Federally, period. The tiny exceptions carved out are for the military and law enforcement doing their jobs. That's it. If you're a regular civilian and one of these is in your house, you are committing a federal crime just by owning it. So sit with that. Somebody out there ordered this as a survival knife, felt clever about it, and dropped it in a bug-out bag next to their canteen. And what they actually did was stash a 10-year federal felony next to their trail mix. On top of that, as a knife, it's terrible. Once you launch the blade, you're holding an empty handle, and the launched blade has weak, unreliable stopping power anyway. So it's the worst of everything. Illegal everywhere and bad at its one job. So let's tie this together, because there's a real lesson buried in these 12. Every single one of these got bought by somebody who was trying to do the right thing, trying to be ready, trying to protect themselves and their family. That instinct is good. That instinct is not the problem. The problem is a whole industry that's figured out how to sell that instinct back to you as plastic, fake numbers, and in a shocking number of cases, straight-up contraband. The gadget that folds, the 3 million volt lie, the disguised blade that's a felony to own. None of it makes you safer. Half of it makes you a defendant. Here's the move. Before you buy anything marketed as a survival weapon, ask 2 boring questions. 1, does this actually work, or does it just feel like it works? And 2, is it even legal to own where I live? Those 2 questions would have killed every purchase on this list. If this saved you from wasting money, or worse, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because the stuff being sold to preppers only gets sketchier from here, and I'm going to keep pulling it apart. Drop a comment and tell me, which one of these have you actually seen for sale? I guarantee somebody watching owns number 4. I'll see you in the next one.